So you're ready to sell your home and you're not quite sure how to prepare to get that done? Well, don't worry. Today we're actually going to be going over 13 things that you can do both inside and outside of your home to make sure that when you go to sell your home, you're going to be getting top dollar and that you're going to be able to sell it as quickly as possible. If you're not already familiar, my name is Jonas Halbert. I am the owner and broker of Streetlight Realty. I've been in the real estate industry going back to about 2013. Started off as a lender, then as a realtor, and now as a real estate broker and team lead over here at Streetlight. So the whole purpose of this channel is to help educate buyers and sellers on the steps that they need to take when they are going to begin their journey within real estate, whether it's on the buy or sell side. So today, we're actually talking about preparing your home and getting it ready to list. We're going to focus on two aspects of that. There's the interior, which most people get down pretty solid, but there's another factor to it. You also got to be mindful and remember that whoever it is that's going to be looking at purchasing your home, they're also going to take some time and take a look at the outside of your house. It's going to be the first time they've ever been there. So before they write an offer, they will typically walk the entire property inside and out. So there are 13 things that we're going to recommend that you do both on the inside and outside of your home. And we'll start walking through those steps. Now we're going to start with the exterior, and I've got it written down here off to the side here so I don't forget. And they may seem like common sense, but not everybody takes these things into account. So it's important that we just kind of break each one down. So we're going to go over all the exterior items first, and then we will go over the interior items towards the end of the video. So the first thing on our list, number one, is going to be mowing your lawn. Everyone who pulls up to your home has already started judging your property. So it's important that your house has already had the grass cut before anyone arrives, before the photographer arrives. Photos are going to be of the inside and outside of the property. If you have a large lot, there's going to be several photos of the exterior of your property. So it's important to make sure that you take that very first step of just making sure that you've already cut your lawn before photographers or potential buyers show up to the property. Now, you may not do it all the time, but this is also the time that you're going to want to make sure that you trim around the walkways, trees, bushes, any sort of flower bed, anything like that. You want to make sure not only is the grass cut, but you want to make sure you got the nice, crisp, clean lines. You're really trying to show off that pride of ownership that you have in your home so that the future buyer knows this home's been well taken care of. And again, it all starts before they've even reached the front door. So the next part of this would be making sure that you're free of any weeds from both the lawn, flower beds, and mulch beds leading up to the property. It all ties in together. So really just a full lawn care regimen, if you will. You know, if weeding's not something you typically do, this may be a little bit more of a nuisance for you, especially if you don't take the time each year to do, you know, the fertilizer or hire a company or whatever the case may be. We strongly recommend before putting your house on the market that you would even take those additional steps above and beyond a simple trim. You know, as folks are walking up, they want to know that you've taken great care of the property. And if this is something maybe in the past you haven't been able to get to, this is a great time to go ahead, get it addressed, and make sure that your home is totally ready for whoever is about to take a look. And especially, I say this all the time in person during listing consultations, but photo day and showing day are almost two different things. When it's photo day, you want to make sure that your house looks like it's straight out of Pinterest. It's that unrealistic expectation of what people think your home looks like day in, day out, whether you have kids, animals, or the like. It doesn't matter how chaotic your life is, or even the potential buyers. They want to see that very crisp, clean property, and it all starts with those few things. And then it leads us into the things that will really help and develop that sense of pride on the property itself. And what I'm getting at here is you're going to want to make sure that the sidewalks, the walkways, your patio, is there any neglect there? Is there sagging concrete? Is there cracks in the concrete? Is there crumbles? Is that something that needs to be addressed? Do you have blacktop that could use a fresh seal coat? We all know a fresh seal coated driveway looks way better than a driveway that hasn't been seal coated in a few years. And it's understandable that you may not do that every year or every other year or as needed. But if you're getting ready to put your home on the market, being mindful of your walkways, driveways, patios, front porches, anything that could indicate that, maybe there's an issue here. If you can resolve that before anybody gets to the property, you're going to be in much better hands. It's going to have a very different feeling as a buyer and a buyer's agent's walking up to the property. I don't know how many times someone's made the comment, oh, that step is sagging. Oh, I tripped over this. Talking about uneven pavement. So these are things that get brought up, and although I never, or I shouldn't say ever, I don't often hear a buyer say, hey, Jonas, I really didn't want to write because they didn't cut their grass or take care of their concrete or their blacktop. Those are all factors that, whether consciously or not, are attributed to a person's decision on whether or not they want the property. The next thing is, when you're taking a look at the outside of your home, you want to be careful and take a look at all the areas that may have paint, whether it's peeling paint, chipped paint, whatever the case may be, faded shutters or broken shutters, anything that's kind of left missing, or not missing, anything that's left in need of repair. We want to make sure we take that into consideration and make sure we get it addressed. When you're walking up into a walkway and you're sitting there at the door as an agent may be unlocking the lockbox to gain entrance through either a side, front, or back door, the buyer has nothing else to do. They're just staring at the house, and it comes up. Oh, they didn't bother to do this. They didn't get the cobwebs. They didn't fix that chipping paint. These are all things that maybe they don't even do at their own property, but when they see that your home is for sale and they're looking at it, the expectation on the buyer's hand is you've gone through all these lengths to make sure that your home is ready to sell. It doesn't have to be perfect, but they want to know that you're just as eager to sell as they are to want to buy. So these things may seem small and maybe not as big of a deal, but the comments, they do come up, they do show up, and ultimately, as I'm walking up to a property, if the house meets my buyer's needs, I know from seeing paint that had been flaked off and repainted compared to the one that wasn't, I can already sense my buyers thinking, this is the one for me, or I'm not so sure about this one. And again, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, all these things, especially piled together, make a world of difference between what you're going to get for your home and how quickly it'll be to get that property sold. And then following along with that, we're still on the exterior of the property here. You want to make sure that you're taking the time to clean your windows, getting the cobwebs out, making sure that the screens aren't damaged or missing or whatever the case may be, that everything works properly, everything looks good, that there's no cracked or broken caulk around the edges of the window. Any basic maintenance or minor repairs that can be done, again, before anybody sees it, will go a long way. Keeping the roof and gutters clear of debris. So if you've got moss on the shingles of your roof, or if you've got a bunch of leaves just kind of hanging out in the gutter there, taking the time to get those out of there, kind of clean them up. If you can kind of power wash them, clean them up, it just makes a world of difference. And again, these are all small things. Yeah, maybe individually, not as big of a deal, but if you don't touch on any of these or most of these, it becomes very clear the condition of your home to a buyer. Not all of the showings are going to be during the day. Some are going to be in the evening or close to dusk. So it's important that all your exterior lights are functioning. So if you have 2 light fixtures on the outside of your front door, both of them should work. They should be matching bulbs. If you have lights on the sides of your garage or overhead of your garage, again, they should all function. They should all be the same type of bulb, radiating the same color, whether it's 3,500 Kelvin or 5,000 Kelvin. I think that's what the K stands for. Can't remember. Making sure those things are done, it'll make it show much nicer in the evening, especially if there's any concerns from a potential buyer of safety or anything like that. So nice bright lights is a lot more welcoming than a dark walkway to the front door. You got to remember, you may live there, you've been there for however long. This is the first time they're there. You want to make sure you're putting off a really good impression. So those are the bullet points that we're going to discuss when it comes to the exterior of the home. There may be some things that are being left off that you might be able to do, but for the most part, if you were to tackle those few items right there, you're going to be in good shape. And then you want to make sure you turn your attention to the inside of your home. If you have a very bright personality that shows in your home decor, I can think of my mother as an example. I remember all through high school, she had her kitchen was painted purple. Her dining room was red, and I'm talking like violet purple, not like a soft pastel-y kind of purple here. I mean, it was dark. The red was bright red. It was kind of like Crimson Tide. So it was red. But that's what she liked, and her home reflected that. She can have a bold sense of style, and if she was going to sell that home, I would have told her, hey, it's time to repaint all of this a neutral color. Gray's been in for a very long time. I'm kind of glad to see it go. Right now, what you're starting to see is kind of more of like an off-white on white. Now, if you have white baseboards, I still think the grays, white, off-white, whatever you want to pick there, I think looks pretty good still. Whether it's a little dated or not, who knows. But if you have all natural wood stained trim, maybe a nice light slate or beige or something in between that is still very light in color. I don't know if you can see the wall behind me. I believe I used agreeable gray. That can look good on stain. That can look good with white baseboards. It's a very neutral color. So that in itself makes it very appealing. The next thing, if you have all nice neutral colors throughout, would be to make sure you take the time and really declutter your home. If you like filtered water and you got one of those filtered water systems that sits on top of your countertop, if you can go without that until you get your home sold or at least under contract, the recommendation would be to clear off your countertops with anything you absolutely don't need. I get it, you're gonna keep your microwave there, you're gonna keep your flour, your sugar, the things that you're probably using on a day-to-day basis, olive oil, those are all fairly common, but we want to try to keep the clutter down to a minimum. If you got a large enough kitchen, it's real popular. You leave the KitchenAid mixing bowl out. A lot of people like to show it off. It's almost just as much of a design feature as it is a utility or a tool that you use in the kitchen. So some of those things make sense. Coffee pots, I get it, but if you're a coffee connoisseur and you got 10 coffee pots, well, pick one or two that you like, put the rest of them away so that we can show off how much counter space you truly have at your property. Keeping in line with the decluttering, if you can take down family photos, if you can take down any decor that kind of eats up a lot of space there, something that you may really, really like, that you're never going to get rid of, but just isn't necessary or doesn't have to be a part of the room, we would recommend that we get those items packed up and put away and ready for your move. It'll help down the road because now you're not packing everything. You've kind of pre-packed, if you will, because we don't want it empty either. If we can show off what the home looks like with furniture to show off its true size and what they're going to be able to get out of it in utility, that's perfect. But we want to make sure we don't have too many things out. Not everyone wants a baby grand piano in their living room, and that one might be a little bit harder to move, but it would be a good example. If you had a place to store something like that, we'd probably want to store it. If it really accents and makes the room look inviting, maybe that's open for conversation, and you leave a piece or two behind so that it kind of creates the ambiance that you're going for. So you just got to be mindful of those things. Now, I know we got a lot of pet lovers out there. Not everybody loves pets. Not everybody loves pets as much as the next person. They may be pet people, maybe not that much of a pet person. So it's important that, dogs, cats, birds, whatever the case may be, whatever extra items you have for your loved pets, within reason, right? We don't want water bowls all over the place because then it just becomes a distraction for the buyer. They're trying to get a feel for your home, but instead what ends up happening is they start questioning, well, why does a dog need five bowls? Or why does a dog need 5 water bowls? I don't know, dog gets thirsty. Who cares? I don't care. But buyers do, and it comes up, and it's something that they end up discussing instead of paying attention to your house. In addition to decluttering of your pets, making sure that we can neutralize as much as possible the odor of any pets you have. The real big offenders typically end up being like cats and dogs, ferrets. Occasionally, I don't see those as often, but those types of animals, especially if you have 2, 3, or even 4, really start to leave a smell. Sorry if you're not aware about that, but animals smell, and it gets passed on and left in the house, especially if you have carpet. So if you need to get the carpets cleaned or at least vacuumed, whether professionally, whether you can do it on your own, makes no difference, but you want to take the time and try to deodorize that smell of pets. You may not be conscious about it. I know it can be a little bit difficult to have that conversation, but it's one thing that I will always point out to my sellers. Hey, everything looks great. Were you aware that anybody who walks through your front door can actually smell your 4 golden retrievers? You weren't? Okay, well now you are. Just to let you know, doesn't bother me, but let's go ahead and try to neutralize that for anyone who may be allergic to animals or just can't stand that smell, because for whatever reason, in some people's heads, you're never getting that smell out. So if we can kind of dampen it or at least lessen it to a big degree, I think it's going to put you a mile ahead of where you are without doing that. If you have children and they are young and they still have plenty of toys, don't leave the Legos everywhere. Don't leave the dolls everywhere. Don't leave the action figures everywhere. Let's make sure we kind of start bundling up what toys can your kids do without and what toys must they have, and if they must have them, let's make sure, especially during photo day, that they're put away, kind of out of sight, out of mind, not drawing attention to anything other than the home. It's not that we don't want your kids to play with their toys, it's just that it's very important that we show future buyers how nice your home looks. As hard as it may sound, it can be hard for someone to envision not having toys laying on the ground. As silly as it may sound, they may not even have kids, but if they see the clutter, it doesn't necessarily leave a positive memory for them on what the property was like. And the goal is to make sure that the buyer leaves with a positive impression of your home. all these actions that we're talking about when we discuss the interior of the home falls right into this last one, and it is the 13th one that I am going to be discussing today. Make sure that the home is warm and inviting. You know, that's why I always use that whole Pinterest ready. For whatever reason, people want to see a home that looks like people live there and they could see themselves as well living there. What they don't want to see is what most people truly live like, right? They're busy. They don't have time to clean their home every single day, every single square inch of it. I get it. We're going to do some light cleaning throughout the day, and we're going to make sure our dishes and all that get picked up. But we need to go just a little bit further. If you like to leave your shoes by the front door or the side door, the garage door, whatever door it is that you like to leave your shoes, let's make sure we're putting those away. Make sure that they're either in the mudroom in a organized fashion, inside your closet, and that we don't have things laying around. Again, you want to create an atmosphere that people feel like, hey, I can see myself living here. We like what we see, and sometimes it's hard to unsee what we don't like. And everyone's got different preferences, so we need to keep it general, neutral, and make sure that it's nice and refreshing at the very least. So those are the 13 things that you need to do to make sure that your home is prepared to hit the market, to get top dollar, and to sell as quickly as possible. Now, we do have all of this stuff listed in our listing packet. It's preparing your home to sell. It's a section in our listing packet. If you would like a copy of that, just let us know and we'll make sure we get one sent over to you. And it goes into detail. We have a checklist just for preparing for showings, which is different than preparing for photos or a video, depending on what we're doing for your property. And it's all a little bit different. We have the entire roadmap from beginning to end on our recommendation on what you need to do to be ready to sell your home. If this is something you would like to have a conversation about, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Again, I'm Jonas Halbert with Streetlight Realty. Please make sure you take the time and subscribe to our channel. It is new, but we are going to be updating the channel with new and relevant information all of the time. I haven't picked if we're going to be uploading videos every Wednesday or whatever. At this point, as I can make the content, I'm putting it out there just to get the channel up and going so people have stuff to look at. So we're probably moving a little bit quicker right now than we will in the future. But yeah, if you found this beneficial, please do us a favor, subscribe, leave a comment, and don't even be afraid to show this to friends, family on social media if you thought it was useful. If there's anything we can do for you, just let us know. I hope you found this video to be educational.